Thank you for coming to the panel. I know it's towards the end of the day, but we'll take whatever audience we get. It is my pleasure to be on the panel and moderate this fabulous panelist today. The topic is the frontier technology, the outlook of the whole RTC, and we are trying to base our conversation today on the IoT and how we can look at the bigger landscape and then come back to our entrepreneurial journeys and focus on products and the markets that we address. So I'll open the first question, looking at the future. Where does the RTC in relates to IoT is taking shape, and how do we see the broader vision? And open with my colleague here, Balaji from T-Mobile.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. I'd say just looking broadly, IoT is a very simple word. It's only 3 letters, but it's a pretty complex ecosystem out there. And the way we think about IoT is, it's not just one size fits all, right? I mean, there are different communication needs for different types of use cases. I believe Ericsson did a study recently, and they've categorized IoT into like sort of 4 broad categories of use cases, right? There's something called massive IoT, which is all about how do you gather data from sensors that are distributed, billions and billions of sensors, sending data not that frequently, definitely not real time, but it's required because one of the promise of IoT is creating a digital representation of the physical world so that you can collect the information, analyze the information, and act upon the analysis, right? So that's one area of IoT, which is called massive IoT. And then you move to something called broadband IoT, which is sort of more real-time communications, kind of leveraging similar technologies that you use in your cell phones and tablets today. And for example, use cases like drones, connected cars, and all those other things that are probably becoming more and more commonplace right now fits into that category. I'd say the third category, as you look further out, is sort of pushes the envelope on the latency requirements, right, which is called critical IoT, right, which is typical use cases like V2X use cases, vehicle to infrastructure, where there's a car that's coming towards an intersection that's turned red and the car is not slowing down. How do you make the system realize the fact that the car is not slowing down and the light is turned red and ask the car to slow down without any intervention from the driver? Because if obviously the driver was paying attention, the car would have slowed down. Clearly not in this case. And there, even milliseconds of latency can make a difference between whether an accident happens at the intersection or not, right? So that's very, very critical, low latency communication. And the last but not the least is I guess what Reynold will talk about more, which is sort of the industrial IoT, right? Which is how do you connect things in the industrial environment to make it more efficient and so that you can have machines talking to machines, you can have AR technology applied to the industrial environment to make things easier for the operator and so on and so forth, right? So those are probably the broad spectrum in terms of how you categorize IoT into use cases. And then underlying that is sort of the communication technology that powers it, right? Which is kind of where our focus is as T-Mobile. There are technologies like narrowband IoT, which squarely cater towards addressing the needs of millions and millions of sensors, not talking frequently, and where the optimization is around how do you reduce cost and how do you manage that network efficiently, right? And then there's LTE network, which serves most of the use cases, like AR, VR, connected cars, drones, and all those other things, which is the current generation, which is also called as 4G, for those of you not familiar with it. And then there's future, which is 5G, which is a lot of talk. You've heard a lot of talk about 5G. And 5G kind of gets into the realm of driving this low latency communications that's required for supporting some of the critical IoT use cases, right? So that's sort of in a nutshell, or maybe not in a nutshell, in a long way of saying how does the ecosystem look like and how does the technology stack fit into the ecosystem?
Well, thank you. Thank you for laying it out for us.
Sure.
So Reynold, for you, if we can take the same broader view looking in the future based on your particular industry segment, where do you see the frontier?
Sure. I think Balaji explains very broadly the concept and scope ecosystem about the IoT, the whole IoT industry. Because my company is making, we have several products. The first one is the smart speakers, and also the AR glass. So I will only talk about this specific areas. That's what we know. And also I will explain a little bit about the requirement in my industry. So for the smart speaker side, right? So everyone knows it's a voice activated device. So we need a it's a single, it's a one-way communication and with very, very low latency, because you don't want the speaker to talk, respond to you after a second also, right? It's definitely real time. And beside of that, we also, one popular application on a smart speaker is actually a phone call. We call it a VoIP, right? IP call. That you call a family, you call any other person, and just kind of replace your cell phone, right? Functionality. And also, smart speaker is getting, most of the smart speaker adding screen right now. So video call is getting more and more popular. If you know Amazon, right? Amazon has and also Google Assistant have different, display, a smart speaker with display. So video call is getting more and more popular. Even our own product, we also have that functionality, and we'll work with Agora and other company, implementing this solution, which real time is kind of a must for us. And also on the AR glass side, also Balaji mentioned about the IoT, industrial IoT. So we have a 2-generation product. The first one is more of an enterprise. So it's used in the industrial or other, for inspection or other different enterprise client side. So we need to read the IoT information either locally from the factory itself or from the cloud, right? They have certain kind of IoT platform that we fetch the data from there. So that one also need we have a very high dependency on the latency, right? Because sometimes, especially if you didn't do the inspection or repair, you need the real-time data, right? Because the machine changes every second regarding the heat, the temperature, right? And also other critical conditions. So you need the current status. So the second gen is actually more on the consumer side. It's not really consumer, but 2B2C consumer side. So we have one use case I want to mention is actually we are working with the carrier, the telecom company, and also the edge computing company, doing the sharing gaming experience. Because I think for AR, VR, the two application or use case really need real time or have a high dependency on RTC is actually one is remote rendering. Because especially you have a high polygon, right? You have using Unity or other 3D engine, you really need a high throughput and also the very low latency to get to reduce the motion seek, or we call it a motion to Fulton latency, right? The second one is actually the sharing gaming experience. If you are playing with your friend, just like about Niantic, right? The Pokemon Go. And if you have a multiplayer Pokemon Go player, we are already making that experience in AWE Shanghai, AWE this year, and also we're working with the carrier on another show later this month. Actually, if you want to play with another player, right, you have to get their position data, their move data, their gesture data, within I think 200 milliseconds at most. So you really have a very, very high requirement on the latency. So I think RTC is also critical in that part. So yeah.
Thank you. Vivian, how about you addressing very niche kids products? How do you see the vision there?
Actually, we're in the kids wearable industry. So everybody knows, the adult wearables are a huge market. Everybody knows that. Like 1 in 6 Americans currently own the wearable devices, and this number, double in $25 million in 2019. But the kids wearable market is truly poised to skyrocket, and with good reason. The kids smart wearables, they can let parents and the kids stay connected, and parents, they can also track their kids to do the voice message, text message, and real-time communication. So this is actually very important. And not to mention, kids today are more comfortable with the technology than their parents. So although critics, they have been they branded the kids wearable as tracking devices. Actually, their potential is enormous. So it goes way beyond the kids, like their health and also the parental peace of mind. So we believe that they have the power to fundamentally shape a child's relationship with RTC. So I think we need a technical solution for parental control. So it should be like a stable in technology, low in power consumption, and they're effective in cost. let's say if child is go travel and they are far away from home, they still can do a short voice message, and they can do a video calling to communicate with a child at home. Or if the child goes away to a summer camp, they still can be reached anytime, anywhere. If like unfortunate event of violence happened at school, the child has the ability to quickly call 911 and share the lifestyle, the life milestone or the big events, such as the first home run. So actually, I believe children need a device to balance the communication, the safety, the social, and also their privacy. But the parents need a device to get peace of mind with parental control app. So overall, I believe the kids' wearable devices has more future potentials than the current significance. And RTC will definitely play the most important role in the future development of this industry.
So I want to come back to Balaji to look at the bigger company. T-Mobile is taking heads on with other bigger players in the market. How do we all make sense to reach the customer and make the customer understand where the technology is moving and how they can then consume these products and technology?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, because I've been in the space for about 3 years now, and when you look at IoT, it very much evolved from sort of a technology for technology's sake point of view, right, which is, hey, there's interesting and cool things you can do. But I think that's starting to change, because what really drives adoption, both for consumers as well as businesses, is, hey, what is the use case that I can build? What are the problems I'm trying to solve? So finally, I think we've kind of made the pivot towards focusing more on the use case and more on the problems to be solved rather than platforms and technology, because right now, at least when in the early stages of evolution, there was a lot of focus in terms of the platforms and the technology aspects of this and less focus on the use case. But now I think the industry's moved to a point where the core focus has become, what is the problem that I'm going to try to solve? And to solve the problem, what are the technology elements that I need and the platform elements that I need, and the solution that I can build to solve the problem. And as that pivot happens, you'll automatically start driving adoption into the consumer base as well as the B2B base. And also I think if you look at IoT, I think what I would also characterize as probably 80% of the buzz is on the consumer side, but I truly believe that 80% of the value is going to be on the industrial and the B2B side, because that's where, the companies will pay you money to solve a problem. Like, for example, I'm transporting perishable goods, and I need to know to make sure that the refrigeration in the truck that is transporting the goods is at the right level, right? And now if that, for some reason, doesn't, if the refrigeration system goes down, somebody needs to be alerted immediately to try to fix this, otherwise because it's going to spoil the goods, and that's a lot of value at stake. And so people will pay if you build a solution for it and tell them, well, here's the solution. It tracks your assets, it measures your temperature, and if something goes wrong, you get an alert, and then you can fix the problem so that it doesn't go bad, right? So I think that's probably where I see a lot of value. And as you drive towards that value curve, I think you will see the adoption of the market pick up.
So Reynold, in your case, technology has to be brought to the consumers, but you also focus a lot, I've seen your products in terms of the ergonomic designs that you do. And how do you balance both so that there is a viable market out there for you when you look at the bigger competition than you?
Are you talking about consumer market?
Yeah.
Okay, so technically, people recognize us as an AI company, right? But actually, I don't really like a lot of buzzword like AI, even MR sometimes. Because originally I told my, all my friends, whoever in this industry saying, we are a smart speaker company, or we are a speaker company. Right, but so go back to the question. I think, people don't really buy a product. They buy an experience. I'm talking about a consumer, right? Enterprise is different. They buy a solution that either reduce their cost or improve their revenue, right? That's it. So for consumer, you really have to create such kind of experience. So go back to the IoT stuff, right? So our smart speakers work with a lot of different IoT devices, like from Xiaomi, from Philips, from a lot of different brands. But still, it goes back to the core question: how do you make their experience better? So let's talk about the whole process of a smart speaker control an IoT device, or air condition or light. If I talk to Alexa or our own assistant, say, "Hey Alexa, turn on the light," and it stops. Right? After a second or two, it turns on the light, or it doesn't turn on. There's no feedback at all, right? So what's your experience? If I did this twice, I won't use this device anymore. So I still go back to the experience, right? So the experience part is really hard to resolve, actually. So because we designed the whole pipeline of this, from the front-end signal processing to, ASR, NLP, TTS, and also connect to the third-party, like say, Philip, connect to their server. Or we use a local protocol, local protocol, IoT protocol, to really, call their device, to turn on their device. But still, the whole process is very complicated, and every single step will fail, and they fail a lot. So that's why I'm saying, if we're talking about a consumer side, it doesn't matter if ergonomics or the technology or whatever thing we talk about. It's really the final experience. The whole experience is a key. If any part fail, you'll fail, and no one will buy you. Even if they bought it, they won't use it. So we don't have a daily active user. It means a fail for us. So yeah, that's my answer to your question.
So Vivian, in your case, I think you agree with Reynold in terms of the whole experience, and you are catering to a very niche market, like I said, I think. But the market is pretty competitive. So how do you bring your customer to your product?
Yeah, actually, we are a California-based company, and we dedicate to the development, production, and sales of their kids' smart wearable devices. Our TickTalk kids watch phone combines their voice, Wi-Fi, video calling, smart messaging, and the location tracking capability into one single device. So it works as a standalone cell phone, but especially designed for kids 5 to 12 years old. And it runs on 4G LTE network and compatible with most of the GSM carrier in the world, such as the T-Mobile and AT&T United States. So till now, we have actually, successfully released the 3rd generation of the TickTalk Kids watch phone, and we have active users in 120 countries. So our company's focus actually is to, give parents peace of mind and the children more freedom to explore their own worlds through the use of the technologically advanced products. Yeah, so I believe a lot of parents, they actually, they focus on how to develop the kids' health, time management, and their the good habits, especially for the little ones. So, statistics shows close to 72% of the kids in the United States don't even get 20 minutes of rigorous activities every day. So I believe for the kids' wearable devices, they can definitely encourage more outdoor activities like sleeping well, eating healthy, and on top of that, our TickTalk Kids watch phone, we have their things to do reminders, so which is good for kids. So parents, they have their parental control app. They can set up the things to do through the app, and once the time is up, it will pops up a cute icon with the ringtone to remind the kids it's time to do the homework, it's time to do do all kinds of outdoor activities, or take your piano lesson, or feed a pet, or even set a table. So you can do all kinds of things to do through the app. So it's a fun way for kids to learn good, time management and good habits, especially when they're the little age. Yeah. So also I believe, the current market, most of the kids' smart wearable devices, they all focus on the tracking and fitness. But actually, kids need more communication in the process of their healthy growth. It is essential for kids to communicate with the family members and socialize at school. So therefore, our TickTalk team, we focus on the real-time communication system. So that's also the most important reason of cooperation with Agora. We plan on bringing a more stable, more interesting, and more convenient real-time communication system to all parents and the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Balaji, finally then coming to the bigger company, innovation cannot happen without the right kind of human resource. And when you look at the evolution of technology and where the frontiers are taking us, you need to have a human resource that is going to be always real-time, updated, and be able to implement your vision in technology. How does a bigger company look at incorporating all those things within the workforce?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to your question is how do we drive innovation? In fact, I think the innovation happens not inside the walls of the big companies. I think innovation happens in the 4% in the garage that's trying to solve a specific problem, right? Because it's not, I mean, I can lock 10 people in the room and try to figure out the next best solution to either a kid tracking problem or a AR problem. I still won't find the best answer, right? Because it's that developer ecosystem that's very critical to drive innovation, right? And as technology providers, I think our objective is to try to get a technology, be it 4G, 5G, LTE, or narrowband IoT, in the hands of those developers as seamlessly as possible, and reduce the barriers for experimentation, because only when you drive the barriers for experimentation down will that drive innovation, and that's especially in a system like IoT, for example, right? I mean, these guys are product companies. I think they can probably talk more about the pain. The ecosystem is so fragmented all the way from the hardware. I mean, first of all, you need both hardware and software layers to make any IoT solutions work. And if you look at hardware, I mean, you have choice in terms of the chipsets you want to use, the communication modality, whether it's Wi-Fi or Zigbee or Bluetooth or cellular, and even within cellular, you have multiple technologies. And then once you figure that all out, then you got to go to the cloud and then figure out what cloud providers to use and what cloud technologies to use, and then you got to bring a solution together, right? So if you look at each of these layers, there's like multiple stacks, and it's very hard for a startup company, the 4% in a garage that's trying to solve a problem, to navigate through that stack. And in fact, they probably end up spending their first Series A, Series B round money just figuring that thing out. So I think what we need to do as bigger companies is to try to figure out a way in which we can sort of cut the clutter and try to get the technology to enable interesting use case development in the hands of the developers as quickly as possible.
So Reynold, we got the validation from the big guys that the innovation comes from people like you. So let's...
Through collaboration.
So let's look at, in your case, how easy or how difficult it is, because innovation is constantly happening. It's always a constant in your case. So I'm trying to learn, along with the audience, to understand, how do we keep up as a startup, be agile, be nimble, and get the right people to develop those things for the startup.
Okay, so I think that's basically two questions, right? So first one, how do you find the right direction? And second one is how do we get the people to really run, make it happen? So I would say for startup, we're not quite small yet. We're not quite small. So we are about 500 people globally and about a $1 billion valuation right now. So it's not very small, but still we start with 5 people. So I think the founder's vision is definitely the first thing, right? The founder has to really have a great understanding of the industry, about the technology, especially we're a technology company, right? You have to have a clear understanding of what's the next 3 or 5 years. And you choose a great problem, valuable problem, and trying to resolve it, right? In most of the startup case, the first, second, even third idea didn't work out, right? So you have to be dynamic, to find the next direction. But it should be still in the same scope, right? In the same direction. It's just a matter of which problem is a true problem. Is this problem is valuable enough? So that's something we pivoted several times, but still in a big direction, right? So for our own product vision, actually, we have a roadmap, basically home AI, portable AI, and a personal AI. That's why originally we make a smart robot and kind of home speakers. And then we make, that's actually before Amazon really released Amazon Echo. And the second one is actually we do the portable devices that you can still use voice to control it. And the third one is we are trying to find the best form factor for personal AI. That's why we started to build AR MR glasses. So we really believe that AI is the true driver for the MR industry, because most of the MR use cases right now is basically see what you see, basically remote expert. It's a video call. It's just frankly, it's a video call. It's just a better experience than Skype or other tools, right? So that's I think that's almost like 80% of the revenue for the whole AR industry, right? And we are trying to use the AI technology to expand the scope of the use cases right now. Because what I'm trying to do in the past 2 years or even 3 years to the whole industry, AR industry, if you're familiar, I always say we're trying to transform from see what you see to understand what you see, right? Understanding the object in front of you, understand the surrounding, use SLAM technology, right? And also using point cloud. And also we use the, we can understand this person in front of you, use face recognition or other technology. So that's the first question. The second one is actually, I think you need money, right? You really need to invest a lot of money to really hire the best people. So we also partner with several best university, like Berkeley. We did some co-research with them. So we have like 6 PhD from Berkeley in our US office. And we also have a bunch of PhD in China and also from other university, but we did a research with them. And also some of their professors are also our advisor. So we gather the best technical people. And also we go to the industry, right, to talk. Let's say when we're doing the voice assistant, we talk to Google Assistant, we talk to Alexa team, and we sell them the dream. And some people say, oh, I can't make a big impact here. Let me join your team and make it happen. That's also why I joined this company, right?
Great.
Yeah.
So Vivian, team has to align with the founder's vision is what Reynold said. So you're a co-founder.
Yeah.
How do you keep that intact with your team?
Yeah, so actually we are still a startup company. It's not like Reynold, they're like a big company. So we are like, so all our technician team and the R&D team, we're still in China because this is for the cost, to lower the company's cost. So all the R&D team and our supply chain is based in China. And I'm here actually, I'm working under the marketing and sales to build a team, for the customer service, the warehouse fulfillment. So the team is based in the LA. So we start the first generation of the TickTalk watch actually is in 2016. And at that time, this is just like a prototype with very simple, basic function. And we bring it here to the US to test the market. And we found it's actually a lot of people, they love it, and the parents need such kind of device to track the kids, to communicate with the kids. So then later on, and we find these all Chinese, the watch, they actually use the generic app. It's not actually, like based on the US customers' user experience. So it's very bad user experience. So our own team, the R&D team, we hired more technicians, the app, developers for both Android app and iPhone app and the operating system on the watch. So we hire all these kind of people to build a new team and to redesign, recode all the apps. And it's to better, to satisfy the U.S. customers. So such as at the very beginning, like China, we don't have the time difference. Like in different states, you have different time zones, and we don't have the summertime or the winter, like the saving time. So that's a difference. So when the first generation actually, it didn't come with all these features. So we got a lot of complaints that customers said, oh, my watch shows the wrong time, so what can I do? So actually we have such kind of things happen a lot. And finally we fixed, and little by little we solved this problem and solved the bugs, and we listen to the customer. Actually we think our customer service departments, they are really, really important because they help the customers. Especially like this high-tech stuff, a lot of people, they don't really want to, even you have a very details, everything in your user manual. You have their setup video for step-by-step to teach them how to set up the watch, but actually not everybody, they wanted to watch the video or follow the instruction. So you have to, walk them through, like the customer service team. Every day we receive many phone calls. Someone just know, oh, how can I insert my SIM card? So something like very simple, but these simple questions, to let people stuck there. So we have to help them. So actually we think it's a very good thing is we listen to the customer. Actually customers also teach us a lot of things. They know what they want. Actually we know what the market wants. So we learned from customer, and then we got all these feedbacks collected, and we give it back to our R&D team. So every day they work on all those, fix the bugs or do some modifications or do the next upgrade to our operating system or the apps. So actually, we will have a major release, a major upgrade, so next month. So the new, for the new instant message system. So these are the feedbacks from our customers. So we need to thank you all of our customers. So the new instant message system will have less power consumption, and also it will be more stable, for the video calling, Wi-Fi calling, and it will allow, the kids to create, to add their own friends and create group chat for study group. And this is to better complete the school assignments or other school activities, and through the teamwork, and they can build a team awareness in the early stage. So all these things, I think we learned from customers.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I think it's about time. We'll open up for the audience Q&A. Anybody has the first question among the audience? Come on, there's got to be at least one question. I'm going to then ask the Forbes contributor here to ask the first question.
It's been a long day. I'm sorry. I was thinking that the audience would have such.
All right, there's one. Thank you. There's one question there.
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm from Deutsche Telekom, and I would be specifically interested in T-Mobile IoT products where RTC is used already. Because I think we can learn a lot from Deutsche Telekom, from you, T-Mobile. So the question is for you.
Yeah, I mean, and the way we go to market is we look at solution providers as themselves, right? So we don't build products ourselves. We enable solution providers to build products. So the product that he described, which is sort of the AR glass, is an example of a product where RTC is helpful. We have just like kid tracking, we have a car tracking product that plugs into the OBD2 port of the car, pulls in telematic information, tells it exactly in real time where your car is, what speed is it traveling at, and is it going outside the geofences that you've set up, and so on and so forth. So I'm assuming that's another example where real-time communications can be used to enable IoT, right? So I think the list of products, almost any product that requires communicate information, which is kind of most cases, except for the first category of use cases which I said, which is around massive IoT. I think that is role for RTC.
Okay.
I'll jump in with a question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lincoln. I'm with Agora IO. I have a question about upcoming 5G. We hear a lot. I mean, this summer there'll be progressive rollout throughout the world. Mm-hmm. Of course, from a mobile phone perspective, we all kind of know what it means. But I'm curious from an IoT perspective, specifically in that consumer product world, do you feel that the upcoming 5G will open a lot of maybe new possibilities in the consumer world that we haven't seen today yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it will enable a lot of new possibility. And as I said, I think it will enable a lot of new possibilities because we don't know what those are. Going back to the answer I gave to in terms of how innovation comes about, right? The first step is to get the technology out in front of the people that are there so that they can experiment with the technology and build something new and innovative, right? So I think we're at the stage where we're building the technology has to get out so people can use it. Like if you take your phone, for example, today, just take a look at all the apps in the phone. None of those apps would have been a reality back in the 2G world. 4G came along, LTE came along. People like Uber realized what they can do with that technology, which allows them to, which allows people to just call cabs whenever they are, and they almost immediately get a response. So that type of innovation will happen once the technology gets in front of the people that are trying to drive the innovation, right? But broadly talking about 5G, I think there are three big things that 5G is going to enable, right, which as it relates to IoT. One is massive IoT in terms of enabling the scale of devices that can be connected to a network from the few millions now to the few billions down the road. So that is a big part of what 5G is about. The second is sort of going down to the broadband area, like the throughput is the second vertex of 5G, which is today the LTE network, we're probably the fastest network here in the US. We get about probably 35 megabits per second download speeds. 5G peak download speeds could be 1 to 2 gigabits per second. Now, what can be done with that speed? I think that's up to your imaginations, right? Once you get the technology out in front of people. The third is the low latency part that we talked about. Today, the cellular network latency is somewhere in the 40 milliseconds range, which is pretty good, not bad, but 5G will get you down to the 5 to 10 millisecond range, right? So now that's 4 times faster response than what you have today. And that's when you start seeing use cases that are really mission critical. Like, I mean, I can see vehicle to vehicle connectivity, vehicle to infrastructure, and all those revolve around consumers and how they interact with the vehicles and what happens. I mean, that's just completely up to imaginations. And eventually all those things will materialize.
Because in my own industry, I think a remote rendering, it will definitely benefit from 5G, right? And also the point cloud, it's also definitely will benefit from there. And also the sharing experience of AR will definitely benefit from 5G. Because that's basically the foundation of a sharing experience of AR experience. You see, Yantek worked with Deutsche Telekom and Samsung in MWC earlier this year. And also, we're also working with them, delivering one sharing gaming experience. Because if we don't have this edge computing in 5G, it's not feasible, right?
Yeah, and one other thing touched upon, I think you mentioned gaming. Gaming is another use case which we see a lot of applications for 5G, right?
That's
Because in today's environment, the fact that a person wins or loses a game could be based on whether they have a higher latency or lower latency. Right. Now, you don't want that. And truly, you want the skill to be, the winner of the game to be skill-based rather than latency-based.
Right.
And so how do you get down to that low, even if it's not low latency, at least some consistency in latency so that everybody that's playing the game at the same time, especially as more and more of these esports and things so that take on, have the same advantage or disadvantage. And so that not one person is asymmetrically advantaged or disadvantaged because of their connectivity. I think that doesn't exist today, but it will happen with the advent of edge compute as well as 5G put together.
I think also throughput, right? So you see the Niantic, their Pokemon Go, some of their events, they have like 100,000 people gathering together to play the game. In most of this case, the whole network is down. Or it's just super slow, they can't really replay. So for such case, 5G also really benefit. Yeah.
All right, we have about a couple minutes left. Any other question? Great, so I take this opportunity on behalf of Agora and the fabulous team to bear with us, to be here at this time of the day and listen to us. It's been a great conference, it's the first one. I think they'll do a lot more in the coming months and years, and I wish you all the best, the Agora team, and thank you for bringing all of us here for a fabulous panel, and again, at the end, for the fabulous panelists. Thank you for coming and sharing your wonderful thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.